T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Tonight on Truth Today, we're going to be discussing the Islamic war plan that has been exposed actually for a long time, but it is now coming into the spotlight again. How the Muslim Brotherhood and the left and the Marxist play the long game in sabotaging and taking over America. We're going to give you lots of examples of how we better wake up very, very quickly to what's happening all over this nation. Also, we're going to be talking about an attack on Reza Pahlavi in Berlin, and also we'll discuss other updates that are happening in the country. That and much more right now on Truth Today. Well, good evening, folks. Pastor Shahram Hadian here with Truth in Love Ministry. Thank you for, as always, joining us live in studio. We're glad to be with you tonight. I'm glad that you can take the time to join us tonight live. Of course, if you happen to watch this later, we are archiving all of our material onto our Rumble channel. So I want to encourage you, as always, please visit our website, tilministry.com, tilministry.com. Check out our information there, our order page, our events calendar, other content that we have, particularly our Say No to Interfaith tab, where we have documents, very, very valuable documents on there regarding the spiritual deception of the age, particularly between this notion between Christians and Islam. Christianity and Islam, this claim that there is some sort of a common ground, common word, interfaith, multi-faith. We have documents on there, 10 reasons why Islam is not Abrahamic, the polar opposites document comparing the biblical Jesus versus the false Islamic Esau, who they claim to be Jesus. Anyway, check out all that information on our website. And of course, also check out our Rumble channel, rumble.com/Shahram Hadian. We should be live now on Rumble, on Facebook, and on YouTube as we speak. So shout out to us where you are from, where you're joining us from. We welcome everybody tonight. We have lots of Tennessee. We have Cleveland, Ohio, Texas, Michigan, Great to have you guys there from Alabama, here in Tennessee, Washington State. We have Brisbane, Australia. Welcome. Great to have you there. South Texas, New Mexico. We welcome all of you tonight to the program. Also, want to remind you again that we are going to be going very soon live to our X platform as well. And that I want to let you know about a documentary that I mentioned on Tuesday's show that is coming out. And I'm trying to just get the link here while we speak. I mentioned to you on Tuesday's show that there's a brand new documentary called The Great American Conflict, The Clash of the Cultures, that has been produced by Iran Alive and XS in the Sky. I am one of the participants in this documentary. You can see my name there, along with others. Dr. Hormuz Shah Riyat is from the lead of Iran Alive Ministries, based out of Texas. And I wanted to see if I have time, I'll see if I can get the, let me see if I have that. The trailer, I'll load this up and maybe just in a little bit later in the show, if we have time, I will play this trailer for you of the Great American Conflict. Now, again, I said this on Tuesday's show. I did not have any approval in the sense of others who were on there. I know some of you raised objections about Brigitte Gabriel, Act for America. She's in this documentary quite a bit. And her connections with promoting those who are, quote, reformers, like Zuhdi Jasser and others, Ayan Hirson Ali and others, who are these people that claim that they can reform Islam. I do not support that. I mentioned on Tuesday's show that I stopped working for Act for America groups because of that. However, for the most part, what she said in this documentary is correct. I didn't see any problems other than they used this term radical Islam in it. And that's the only thing I disagree with, is that it's not radical. We've covered that. But again, thank you guys all for joining us. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the Islamic war plan that has actually been exposed a long time ago. We've known this for decades. How the Muslim Brotherhood, the premier Islamic organization, and the left, the socialists, the Marxists, the communists, have a long game strategy to sabotage and take over America. And I'm going to go through this document that is connected to another document that I've talked about that I present in my presentations, called the Explanatory Memorandum, that is particularly authored by the Muslim Brotherhood. And there's a great article that I'll highlight that breaks some of this stuff down, that is on rarefoundation.com. Again, I have this, so I just want to set it up, and then we'll share this as kind of the main thing we're talking about tonight. And then I have some other updates. Actually, let me cover the Reza Pahlavi thing first, because somebody already, I think Pukiel7, you already mentioned that Reza Pahlavi was attacked by a deranged activist in Berlin. Thank God that it was not anything serious or physical. But I have for long wondered, as much as he's traveling, again, Reza Pahlavi, for those of you who don't know, is the son of the Shah of Iran. He's the crown prince of Iran. This is the name that everybody's been chanting with Javid Shah, long live the Shah, and with Pahlavi will return. So Reza Pahlavi, the crown prince, he was in Berlin. He's been in Europe quite a bit, because many of the European leadership are starting to recognize him as the legitimate opposition, the legitimate voice, once prayerfully Iran falls. But let me just play this video for you here. I'll screen share it. And again, I'm very suspect with his security. for who he is and how much there are so many anti-Iranian people forces out there, all these pro-Hamas, pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine, all these leftists that are, they side with the Iranian regime, the murderous Iranian regime. They side with the Islamic jihadist organizations like Hamas and Hezbollah rather than with the Iranian people. They're the ones who've been silent, dead silent on all of the massacre of the Iranian people. So Reza Pahlavi, here it is, was in Berlin, and this is what happened. And I want to just share this with you very quickly here. Let me see if I can make this bigger. And please be praying for him. But this is what happened just yesterday or today.
The arrival of His Royal Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi at the Parliament. Germany, March 23, 2585. Is that correct?
Maybe this is older than I didn't know that. Maybe they didn't publish it. But this guy comes up. Look at this. This guy gets close to him.
He ton.
Yeah, these people are way too close to him. His security is not
I
doing
adore
a very
you.
good job.
Long live, long live, long live, long live, long.
Yes. So anyway, that was some AI thing that they had added to that video. So again, just wanted to update you on that. That just came out. It may have been back in March. I'll have to verify that. But regardless, please be praying for him. Please be praying not only for the open doors and the recognition that many of us believe he is the right person. Of course, the Iranian people, tens of thousands who have died chanting his name. They want to see the restoration of Iran. But please know that whatever they threw on him, some people are saying, you guys are saying it's tomato juice. Thank God it was not acid. Thank God it was not something else that would have been very, very tragic. So just wanted to update you on that front. Please continue to pray for him before we get into our talk about the Islamic game plan. Again, if you're joining us late, I want to get into this Islamic war plan exposed, how the Muslim Brotherhood and their Marxist, socialist, communist allies have this long game to actually destroy, sabotage, take over America, and it is deeply troubling. Okay, so I want to share with you this article. Let me set this up, and we're going to go through this. Now, remember that the Muslim Brotherhood that was started by Hassan al-Banna, the Muslim Brotherhood was started after the fall of the last Islamic Caliphate. That was the Ottoman Empire. So about 1918, when the Ottoman Empire was pretty well destroyed, there was sort of a time frame that there was not really a leadership on the Islamic front. In 1928, a guy by the name of Hassan al-Banna out of Egypt decides that they're going to start this global movement to revive the Islamic Caliphate or world order. And as such, they termed this organization the Muslim Brotherhood, or the Ikhwan, that has to do with the word brotherhood and the idea that they're going to create this ummah, this global community that is focused on the goal of reviving Islam and spreading Islam upon the earth under their governance of their law, Sharia, Islamic law, the path or the way, Sharia law, right? The path or the way of Allah, their false god. And as such, they want to infiltrate from within into every nation. Now, this has been well documented, but the Muslim Brotherhood that in the 1930s began to work with the Nazis, with the National Socialist Party in Germany, 1941. Hajj Amin al-Husseini, who was at that time a member of the Brotherhood, goes to Berlin, meets with Adolf Hitler. They began to organize the plans to broadcast out of Berlin to the Islamic world, to bring the Islamic world on board with the National Socialist platform, with the Nazis' platform, and also, and this is the most demonic part of it, with the agenda of the final solution, of the extermination of the Jews. So in my opinion, and history has shown that it wasn't just the Nazis who came up with this solution, but it was with the help of the Islamic movement and the Muslim Brotherhood. From there, they were pushed back a little bit. They began to move from, after World War II, they began to reorganize, and then they moved and they began to encroach into Europe and into North America. 1958 is when we see them really plant their flag in the United States with their agenda of setting up these groups on college campuses called the Muslim Student Associations. Now, in 1982, long before the FBI had raided in 2004 a senior member of the Brotherhood in Virginia. Virginia seems to be kind of their base of operation right out of DC. They had written in 1982 a document titled, quote, "Towards a Global Strategy for Islamic Policy," also known as, quote, "The Project." This outlines a very long-term, patient approach for Islamic dominance worldwide by infiltrating Western institutions and creating parallel Islamic governance structures. The goal was always to be able to do it through using our hands. So what the agenda was here is that the Brotherhood says through the project, that it bluntly instructs followers to create a parallel society from within their host countries. So go to every particularly non-Muslim country. So we're talking about, again, Western Europe. We're talking about in places like Australia, New Zealand, into Canada, into the United States, into South America, and infiltrate. They went into Japan, into Russia, infiltrate, working with other entities that are working to overthrow those governments, including pushing for things like socialism, Marxism, communism. And you'll see that part of their plan was to create a narrative around, quote, Palestine. Now, this is why, as we've exposed on this program before, not only are we dealing with this red-green alliance or this red-green axis that is very much working together, but we are working with and dealing with this Palestinian myth that there was never a goal to establish, quote, a Palestinian nation, because there's never been a Palestine or a Palestinian nation or a Palestinian people. They are Arabs. And I go through this in our Israel is Not Replaced DVD that we have on our website, if you want to get a copy. Very important to understand God's promises to Israel. But it is also that they understood that this was basically a ploy. This was a tactic. This was the vehicle by which they were going to flip using this idea of Palestine victimization and bring together that under that red-green axis, the Islamic movement and the socialist Marxist communist movement to permanently overthrow, take over, and also destroy Jews, destroy Christianity, destroy Judaism. So the document here goes through, and I'm going to, let me actually screen share this. And so you guys can have the reference point if you want to go read it for yourself. Those of you who are motivated to go read this yourself, here it is on, again, rarefoundation.com. And just look up The War Plans Exposed, Muslim Brotherhood's Secret Blueprint. Secret Blueprint. Let me make this a little bigger. To capture America. operates untouched inside their Virginia command center. And so it goes through, and this is exactly what it's talking about. It has referenced some things here. Like, for example, if you right-click on that word entered, you'll get into the document here that has to do with Sharia-free America. This was part of the testimony that was given this year before Congress. Okay? So before Congress, this testimony was given to the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution and Limited Government, Tuesday, February 10th of this year. The hearing, quote, Sharia-free America, why political Islam and Sharia law are incompatible with the U.S. Constitution. I would say not just political Islam, all of Islam is incompatible. All of Sharia is incompatible. But we're talking about everything that is public, everything that is public accommodation with the U.S. Constitution. And so they had witnesses. They had Robert Spencer, David Horowitz Freedom Center. They had Krista Shield from Rare, or Skilled, Ilya Soman, professor of law, George Mason. So they had four different testimonies during this subcommittee back in February. So this was entered into evidence. Now, it goes on to say, and by the way, if you read this article, let me go back to this. If you read this article, it goes through and it shows you, okay, the convergence, the connection of the Muslim Brotherhood to the Nazis, especially here. See, it goes through this background. Again, there is 1928, Hassan al-Banna coined the phrase Sinat al-Mat, or industry of death, which exalted dying to further the cause of Islam in violent jihad. German political scientist and historian Matthias Kunzel explained that the Society of Muslim Brothers, and this is what it's called, Jamiyat al-Ikhwan al-Muslimin. So this is where we get the word Ikhwan. See that word Ikhwan there? Al-Muslimin, right here, okay? Right there. Believed that Islam is the only true religion, was being degenerated by the West. Following his teachers, Muhammad Abu and Rashida Rida, al-Banna had advocated a return to early Islam as the only true religion and as much destined to supremacy. Okay? So all those that are out there saying we can coexist, okay? There is no coexisting with this ideology, okay? By their own words. In his view, contemporary Islam had lost this social dominance because most Muslims had become corrupt by Western influence and seduced into surrendering their religiosity. Now, that's another way of saying that Islam had gone down the road of secularism, meaning many Muslims had rejected Sharia governance and they had moved towards secularism. That's what after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, for example, for probably 50 plus 60 years, was predominantly secularly governed. Iran, we saw this in Egypt and other parts of the Middle East, where they started moving towards this kind of secularism, even though those countries were majority Muslim populated. And then it goes through the apparatus that they worked off of. They worked off of the kind of the Marxist playbook. The Brotherhood was the first Islamic organization to put down roots in the cities and organize as a mass movement. This concept is very reminiscent of tactics used by communist parties in the early 20th century. Mass mobilization of the working class. In her 2020 book, The Secret Apparatus, Cynthia Farahat argues that al-Banna drew tactical elements from Joseph Stalin's governing system and NKVD-style control, the brutality of the Nazi SA, Freemason secrecy, and medieval assassin-style cult loyalty to create an efficient industry of death. Wow. Central to al-Banna's vision was a gradualist phase strategy known as Tadaruj, or Tamkin, gradual empowerment, detailed in his tract, The Message of the Teachings. The plan moved step by step, reform the individual, the family, society, government, and ultimately a global caliphate under full Sharia rule. The Brotherhood operated a dual structure, a political network of charities, schools, mosques, and political activism that appeared moderate and built mass support. Paired with a hidden, secret apparatus, that handled militant intelligence and enforcement functions. And this is where it now goes into this documentation. In a chalet in the quiet Swiss lakeside town of Lugano, I've been there, by the way, before, a beautiful place, a fateful gathering unfolded in 1977 that would quietly shape the global ambitions of the Muslim Brotherhood, led by the late economist Mahmoud Abu Saud, longtime confidant of Hassan al-Banna. The meeting brought together exiled Brotherhood heavyweights. He is the maternal grandfather of Magda el-Qadi Saleh, a leading figure in Florida's Islamic education network and heir to a prominent Muslim Brotherhood dynasty. She served as the vice president of the Islamic Society of North America, president of Radiant Hands, Tampa's leading Muslim-led refugee resettlement organization. Again, these guys, folks, are doing a tremendous amount of research to go through all of this backstory. And then it goes into who attended the Lugano meeting, and that from this Lugano meeting, they brought out, again, this document. As an aside, here's part of their strategy. Mohammed Shafiq founded the Hickory Center for Interfaith Studies and Dialogue at Nazareth University in 1999, where he still employs a professor in religious studies. Rare has discussed how the so-called interfaith movement acts as a vehicle for Islamic supremacism by labeling resistance as intolerance and bigotry. That's exactly what we have been labeled. And it goes on to talk about this. Then it gets into this triple IT and the Islamization of knowledge in Virginia. And it goes talk about the blueprints of their Islamization of knowledge, general principles and work plan, written and edited by Al-Faruqi and Abdul Hamid Abu Sulaiman. And it's very deep. I encourage you guys to do this. Get this type of information into the hands of your elected officials, of those pastors, leaders who are entertaining. Look, this is long. I don't have time to obviously go through all this tonight, but it goes through all of these leaders, the trust, the money, the plans, all this back in 1977. And this document then that was written in 1982. And so for the sake of time, I want to move on because I have other examples of things to cover. But this is the type of investigative work by Rare. Now, the project has been known for decades. And again, after the discovery in 2004 by the FBI, of this strategic agenda, all their documents, we have had this information for at least the last 22 years. But yet, what have we seen? We have seen that they continue to infiltrate our government. They continue to infiltrate our education system. They continue to get carte blanche access. To this day, the White House has still done nothing other than a very, very, very benign executive order to study the foreign terrorist organization of the Muslim Brotherhood. So we have to understand that this type of infiltration has been known for decades. So this is what we're talking about, and this is why we get attacked. This is exactly why we get attacked. So let me share with you. I don't know. Let me see if I can get it from here. I may have to email it separate, but I'll just read it to you. This was as you guys know, I was in Pennsylvania over the weekend. Jules, I'm sorry. I think we got the dates wrong, but I was in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, just this past weekend. And it was an incredible conference, great atmosphere there. People were waking up. But, as usual, there was a hit piece in the Bucks County Beacon. And here's the headline: Islamophobia comes to Quakertown. And this is by somebody who came to the event, was a journalist, and was kind of undercover. We didn't know this. Quote, "For the first time in my life, I felt as if I had attended a cult gathering," writes Buck County military veteran Steve Nolan. And then he goes on to say things like, this was an example of narcissism. Shahram Hayden is articulate, charismatic, and passionate. He has a message that he delivers as a warning about the, quote, imagined destruction of American culture. And the message is that Islam is about world domination. So he's mocking this. And so he goes and talks about, he introduces his personal manifesto, what he calls the Red Green Axis. This, in his conspiratorial mind, is the alliance of the red, Marxism, socialism, communism, and the green, Islam. This is all apparently in our minds. We're just making this stuff up, folks. He says the Islamists embraced the communists in Iran until they took power, which they, again, everything he says as a mockery is exactly factual that I said. And he says the same thing is happening in America with politicians like Congressman Ilhan Omar and New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani. In the end, he predicts they only want Sharia law. Then he says, not true. And that Islam can accept no other religion. Really? So all this 1400 years, this is the type of fool. These are the type of fools that are supposedly claiming to be a veteran representing America. His message, he says, his message matches many MAGA talking points, disinformation and bigotry. He takes the idea of white supremacism, great replacement. I talked about the plummeting birth rates that we have here and in Western Europe. He called that white supremacism because he claims that I was talking about only white people birth rate, which I never said one time. The most disturbing thing about his presentation was the ultra religiosity of condemning Islamic jihad and Sharia law while presenting the Christian equivalent, an obligation to spread the message of Christ everywhere and to hold the fort until Jesus comes back. So you're comparing Islamic jihad, where they've actually killed people, and Sharia law that subjugates, says cut off their hands, cut off their foot, gouge an eye, kill the apostate, kill the unbeliever. You can rape. You can have 4 wives. You can take a 9-year-old as a bride. You can mutilate a young girl with female genital mutilation, and on and on and on. And he compares that to us spreading the message of Christ. Wow. I'm not going to go any further, but I just want you to know and understand that this is the kind of garbage. Yes, I do. Sue, I do consider it a compliment But these people claim to be journalists, and they're not. So just, again, that's what we're dealing with. Meanwhile, let me give you some examples of what continues to happen in America. What the Islamic agenda's goal is. How they continue to take over. In places like Minnesota, the 10 Commandments are deemed unconstitutional, but Muslim prayer rooms in Minnesota schools are fine. Now, what is this talking about? This is talking about this. Liz Collins reported out of Minnesota that the Oseo Schools has confirmed to Alpha News that its remodeled project at Park Center Senior High School includes a prayer room and a foot washing station for specifically their Muslim students. So using taxpayer dollars to build prayer rooms and foot washing so Muslims can wash themselves before they pray. Meanwhile, by the way, what is the first chapter that they recite in the Quran? The chapter 1. What does the chapter 1 do? It actually curses Christians and Jews as Muslims claim they pray to their false god, that their false god would show them the straight way so they don't go the way of those who were cursed before them, the Jews, and those who were deceived, confused, like the Christians. Because supposedly we turned a man into God. Supposedly Jesus never claimed to be God, divine, the Son of God, God in the flesh. That's why, again, I encourage you to go to our website and get the document right here. Let me share this with you because I want you guys to go get this and share this. And so we are not deceived. Right here, go to our website, get our, again, right here. So see where it's under the tab. If you go right here, it says no interfaith. Okay, you see that? No interfaith right there. And then click on that. You see a drop down, Abrahamic faith lie, polar opposites, 10 questions exposing interfaith. And you can go and download our polar opposites document that we compare the Bible versus the false Quran and the biblical Jesus versus the false Islamic Isa or Jesus. And it's a 2-page document. And you're right there. You see you can click and download the PDF. So again, that's why our ministry exists, to do these type of resources for you guys. Soybean 62, I don't know. You can go and look. It's called the Bucks County Beacon in their opinion page. I don't think they had I'm looking to see if they have a comment section. I don't think they opened it up for comment because, of course, they can't handle comments. I don't see anything here. But, yeah, I don't see any comments. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Meanwhile, what we see is the continued takeover of these type of examples. Again, the Minnesota one, Liz Collins bringing this out. And just to understand, this prayer room is not a multi-faith space. It's not interfaith. It's only now for Muslims. So they go from these interfaith places where they claim we can all get along to then specifically Islamic funded, taxpayer funded organizations. Of course, we had broken ground or broken news. January, I spoke in Wiley, Texas, and then February it came out right after the Wear a Hijab Day, February 1st, Wiley ISD in Wiley, Texas, northeast of Dallas. If it wasn't for a young man who's part of the Republican group there, club, it would have not gotten exposed. But during lunch, Muslims were on campus, specifically the Muslim Student Association was on campus, passing out Qurans, passing out hijabs for non-Muslim students with a pamphlet about how wonderful Sharia is, to contact them and so forth. Why Islam? This is a Muslim Brotherhood Front Group agenda. So they're getting carte blanche access to the schools. let's go to, sorry, I already covered that. Where is that article that I have? Let me go back to that. Maybe I don't have it. Oh, here it is. When I was talking about the 10 Commandments, I wanted you to understand that here is one of the ones that they covered here. This was Texas Round Rock ISD. So Round Rock, Texas, the anti-Christian purge at Round Rock ISD isn't stopping at library shelves. High school libraries at Round Rock High and Cedar Ridge High stock the Quran. So they are stocking the Quran in these high school libraries, while the Holy Bible has been removed from the district's online library catalog. Amy Meek from Where reported on this, that Round Rock is now stocking the Quran while they're purging Bibles. They're also arresting Christian fathers in handcuffs for, we'll wait for this article to pull up here really quick. Come on. Sorry, it's slow loading. I don't know why it's so slow loading. I'm just looking at the information here on this one that they have. Yeah, Round Rock. I'm seeing the link there if you want to go look at it. Fathers Jeremy Story and Dustin Clark were literally dragged out by officers and arrested for speaking at public board meetings in 2021. The left's violent suppression of parental dissent perfectly clearing the path for Islamic normalization on the schools or in the schools. And so this is what they're doing. This is why. So why, again, the blueprint that we're talking about tonight, and I encourage you, again, go and read this rare article. Study it, share it, get it out there. Help others to understand how deep this is, how long they've planned, how patient they are. And one of the things it talks about here, again, is the fact that they specifically call for the convergence. Hamas's man in New York, Zoran Mamdani, the Holy Land Five, and the Marxist Islamic threat to America. Another article that's linked in this article, where, again, it talks about and it gives examples of how the Muslim Brotherhood, and Zoran Mamdani is the poster child of this right now in New York, how they brought together a convergence of Islam and socialism, Marxism, and ultimately communism. And it is, folks, please read my lips, it is a temporary convergence. That's why all of this that we're talking about, is exactly why this group, Iran Alive, is doing this Great American Conflict, The Clash of the Cultures, this documentary that will be coming out. Now, they're planning on May 31st doing a premiere in Dallas. They've asked me if I can go. I'm going to try to see if I can make it for the premiere of this documentary in Dallas. And it is a very good, basic, fundamental understanding of the conflict with Islam and the West and Christianity. But it is also at the end very much focused on the gospel. Very much. Sean and Renee, thank you. Overton High School in Nashville, rumored to have passes for Muslim students to go pray. I would not be surprised at all. Thank you, Pukiel. Is this breaking news? New York City church engulfed in flames. 5-alarm fire in Queens happening now. We'll have to check that out. See if there potentially are Muslims behind that. But let's play. I wanted to share with you guys just this 1 minute and something trailer. Here's the trailer that is on YouTube. And I'll play this, guys, for you here. Here is from the beginning.
The first time I learned that Islam was not a peaceful religion was when I was 10 years old, laying in a hospital bed.
Do Muslims want to implement Sharia law in America?
The word Islam is not about peace.
100%.
Islam is a military term, which means you surrender to me, you do what I say, and everything will be fine. It comes from taslim, which means surrender in a war.
Islamists had blown up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble.
In school, we were indoctrinated to hate on America and hate on Israel.
Because I was fleeing for my life, I ended up in England.
And I would ask my parents, why did they do this to us?
Everyone was constantly in stress and fear.
And my parents would tell me, because we are Christians, they consider us infidels and they want to kill us.
They push in towards cousin they can get married. They push in towards people they can marry underage.
You can't leave Islam. When I left Islam, I'm an apostate. The punishment for apostasy is a death sentence.
This Muslim Islamic ideology, Sharia law, is not a concept that Americans will welcome at all, especially not here in Texas.
All right, so there it is. And so again, I'll have more information when that comes out. I was so blessed to be a part of this. And so, yes, victory for Jesus. We're getting more and more Muslims here in Tennessee. And it is very, especially, yeah, if you're in West Tennessee, especially in West Tennessee, man, the area that is Memphis, that whole area, and then very much so south of Nashville and the suburbs south of Nashville, including into, Murfreesboro. These are highly areas that are being infiltrated. And again, if you're joining us late, we're talking about the Islamic war plan exposed, the Muslim Brotherhood, and Marxist long game. Folks, they are patient, and they are exactly doing what they said, infiltrating, using our hands to sabotage our own house. Direct quote from their mission statement. And as we continue to capitulate, as we continue to give in, as we continue to build them prayer rooms, and we using public funds to accommodate Islam and this red-green axis. And this is why I'm saying that the left, working with the Muslims, perpetrates this Palestinian lie that there is this Palestine, that Israel is evil. They perpetrate this lie. The Muslim Brotherhood and the project that, again, is in this article. If you're joining us late, go to Rare Foundation. Great article, well sourced and cited, exposing the project, the Muslim Brotherhood blueprint, and they're based out of Virginia, and they're still operating in Virginia unchecked. By the way, speaking of Virginia, a little positive news. You saw the debacle after the vote that allowed for the redistricting of a bunch of congressional districts to Democrat, to do the Democrat thing, as far as shifting over to Democrats. Their Supreme Court apparently just ruled that the redistricting vote was completely unconstitutional, the way that it was posed upon, I think, in the amendment, because this was a constitutional amendment. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census. So they wanted to temporarily change the redistricting, and the Virginia Circuit Court, and I think the Supreme Court is considering it right now, voted against this. So, but Virginia is very much going bonkers. They've elected a lieutenant governor that is Muslim. Their governor is a full-on leftist. And we are seeing their agenda accelerate. The red-green axis, the Islamic agenda, is fully accelerating. And there is no coexisting with this. They are working on setting up these enclaves all throughout the United States, including very much so in Texas. How do they get away with this stuff? How do they get away with, we can put Qurans in the schools. We can promote wearing a hijab on school campus. We can promote and pay for prayer rooms. And then on the flip side of that, you have here in Tennessee, where we have the Tennessee legislature that decides we want to have more religion in school. But in order to be fair, using our charter school, all these school vouchers that I'm very much against. I don't think government should be paying to send us to private schools. Now, and I argued this when I was running for governor in Washington State. If anything government should do, they should reduce our tax burden on our property taxes. What I would want to do is to say, if I'm not sending my kids to a public, quote, government-run school, then I should be paying less on my property taxes. Then I can use that money and choose to homeschool my kids or send them to a private Christian school. That's not government endorsing. That's government freeing up our burden, how they take our money to fund their agenda and their propaganda machines, which are our schools. I was dead set when I ran for governor 14 years ago, and I'm dead set now against any voucher program where the government pays to send our kids to private schools. And in this case, in all these states, these voucher programs are then used to fund Islamic schools. And that's exactly what's happening also here in Tennessee. And now the Islamic movement, after they've captured New York and Michigan and Minnesota and California and Washington State and Oregon and Illinois and Colorado, they are now going, and Virginia, they're now going after Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Utah, South Dakota, Idaho. So we better get our heads out of the sand right now. Right now. Thank you. Thank you for your vote for me in Washington State. I so appreciate that. For governor, when I ran, it seems like so many years ago. But this is what's going on, folks. This is what's going on. And when you seek to expose it, then you get called an Islamophobe, and you get called a bigot, and you get called hateful, and so on and so on. Whatever. Who cares? Who cares what they call us? What we have to do is continue to stand and fight and make sure that we're doing everything we can to lift up the truth, fight for our liberties, fight for our nation, stop, at least expose this Islamization, this red-green axis, this agenda, which again, as I said, if you read the article, you'll see these documents have been known to us for decades. At the minimum, the last 22 years, if not longer than that. And yet, we're not doing anything. And oh, by the way, just side note, now, as the United States is dealing with Iran and Israel dealing with Iran to hopefully, prayerfully try to liberate the Iranian people, we have the naivety of some in our administration that are counseling our president. President Trump came out and begged the regime, right, to spare these 8 Iranian beautiful ladies that are set for execution. He came out and said they want a deal. Iran wants a deal. And he said that here's the latest thing. Trump says Iran wants a deal, but their leaders are, quote, fighting like cats and dogs. But he also came out and took credit where he said Iran promised him that these 8 women would not be executed, even though one of them, her husband is also facing execution, nothing about the man, and said 4 of them are going to be immediately released and 4 of them are going to be held for 1 month in prison. As if the president or whoever's advising him doesn't know that Iran carries out secret executions where you don't even know what happened to the person. The family may or may not get the body. The family probably will get a bill for the bullets that are used to kill them if they use bullets, if they're not hung. They will be given a bill to get the body back, to even be able to bury their children. Now, again, in this situation, I pray that the president is correct. I pray that these 8 women will actually be released. But the 4 that are in prison for a month, there's a good chance they're going to be raped in prison if they haven't already. Because in Islam, they believe that if a virgin dies as a woman, she goes to heaven. So therefore, because they believe that the place for most women is not in heaven, is not in paradise, they are to be raped before they are executed. This is what the Iran regime has been doing for decades. But we continue to have this problem. Oh, by the way, this is good news, a little bit of good news for us. As you know, may or may not know, Truth and Love Ministry years ago was labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center, a communist organization, as being a hate group. As such, we lost our Discovery account. We almost lost our MasterCard account for our ministry. We have been blacklisted, shadow banned, uninvited to events over the years. Well, a little bit of redemption as the Justice Department announced that they have filed charges against the SPLC for fraud, money laundering, for paying up to $3 million to white supremacist groups to intentionally stoke hate, racial hate, to make conservatives and Christians look like hate groups. So pray that this actually goes and gets, it actually gets convictions for all the damage that the SPLC has done. And I pray this is the final nail in the coffin that shuts them down permanently. Thank you, Colonels, for finding the Beacon article on Fakebook. So if you're on Facebook, prayerfully respond to it. Amen to that. Please be respectful, folks. Pukiel, yes, I would love to have Trevor Loudon on. I will try to reach out to Trevor Loudon. Thank you for that. Yes, Suq, the reason they are getting away with it, meaning the Islamic movement, is because our politicians are cowards and weaklings. Yes, but I would add to that list many pastors that are also hirelings, afraid, don't want to rock the boat, compromised, engaged maybe in this interfaith ecumenical enterprise that is fake and false. And so thank you guys for that. Colonels, I'm glad that you people have responded to that. Thank you so much for letting us know about that. So, folks, again, this is the agenda. The secret, it's not secret anymore. The blueprint is not secret. These documents are not secret. We know the strategy of the enemy. We know the blueprints. We have their mission statement. We have the explanatory memorandum. We have the project. But we got to get it into the hands of our elected officials. We got to get it into the hands of our law enforcement. We got to get into the hands of the pastors and understand their long-term settlement approach is to establish the Islamic Caliphate community by city, by state, by nation. Turn it from remember the two houses, turn it from Dar al-Harb, the house of war, to Dar al-Islam, the house of the surrendered one. Those who are then subjugated or surrendered. And until they subjugate us, they will use these fools as what? As dhimmis, right? Dhimmi alert. Dhimmi meaning one who is not yet a Muslim, who is subjugated, who does their bidding, who basically surrenders themselves and does exactly what Islam tells them to do. Don't be a dhimmi. Don't participate in the sabotage of our own nation, but let's stand up and fight. Yes, Pukiel, 98% of pulpits are woke. I think that's probably pretty accurate. At least 90+%. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. I got to go. Remember again, if you want to know more about our ministry, visit the website, tilministry.com. We'll be uploading very soon our updated calendar, especially for my upcoming trip to Minnesota and Wisconsin. We will be there between May 12th and May 17th. Stay tuned for that for more updates. Remember again, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, we had a lot of comments today. Thank you guys so much for all commenting. I don't think we had any YouTube. I think all the comments were on Rumble. Well, it could be YouTube is again shadow banning us. We're also on Facebook. Thank you all for joining us on Facebook. Remember, please go to rumble.com/RamHadian. Click that join button as we continue to build up our subscribership little by little, slow by slow, but we will continue to be the voice of truth in love, speaking the truth in love. I was so blessed that this conference in Pennsylvania, they called it the Truth in Love Conference. That's what we're there to do. We have absolutely a heart to reach Muslims for Christ because we know it's the only way they will stop their agenda. The only way that any individual Muslim will stop their agenda is if they're brought to Christ. The only way Islam will be stopped is when the Lord Jesus Christ destroys it. That's the only way. This is Satan's playbook. This is Satan's strategy. I believe Islam is God's judgment on the West and on America as part of his judgment, his discipline, by allowing our enemies within. So we need to repent, pray, intercede, act, vote, operate by faith, go into the school board, city council meetings, go into our culture and represent Christ, represent truth, but expose this agenda, these lies. So get a copy of this article again and share it. Share it, share it, share it. And please go to look up on YouTube, The Great American Conflict, if you want to see the trailer of that. It'll be coming out sometime in June, I believe. We're going to do they're doing the premiere in Dallas on May 31st. And Lord willing, I'm praying about if I can make it there. It's going to be a little bit tricky to go. It's on a Sunday, but we're going to try to make it if we can. So again, thank you guys for joining us. And finally, if you would like to support this ministry, all of our travel, all these shows, we put all the stuff on Rumble here free. Please, 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 preferably consider a one-time donation to the ministry, either online or via check. You can do that on right on that link there. The instructions are there. Our PO box is there. Thank you for prayerfully considering that. Thank you to those who support us. And thank you, most importantly, to our Gideon Army supporters, those who are committed to join us on a monthly basis, praying for us and supporting us. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. We so appreciate and love all of you guys so much. We're grateful. So again, please consider that. We'll be busy the rest of the year. So be praying for that. Pray for my health again. I did get the lab results back today, and they want me to go do some more testing. So I have to go do an MRI on MRA on my head with these headaches that I've been getting. So please continue to pray for that process, that the Lord will reveal if there's anything going on and what is the best way forward to heal, as there's much ahead of us for God's work. But I have to do 2 scans here, probably in the next week or 2, to look at what's going on there with my health. So thank you guys all for praying. Love you guys. We love the Lord. Our lives are in his hands 100%. And until next week, by the way, Sunday, I'll be back live streaming on Facebook for our message. We're going to be picking up teaching on the covenants of God. That'll be probably about 1 o'clock Eastern time on Facebook on my channel. For all those of you who are on Facebook, you can watch it there. Pastor Sharam made it and say, have a blessed night. Thank you for joining us tonight. Be safe. Stay true, faithful in the word, in prayer. Let's pray for each one another. And we love all of you guys in the Lord. God bless you guys. Have a great night. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.